Buongiorno, buonasera, benvenuti amici. Welcome my friends. My name is Vincenzo and welcome to my channel. And that channel is Fountain Pen Therapy. Welcome to another pen review. I've got a beautiful Italian pen for you folks. I was privileged, and I thank Omas for having reached out. They wrote to me and said, would you be interested in reviewing one of our new pens? And I said, of course I would. And within a week or two, they were kind enough to send me this pen. It's just an absolutely gorgeous Omas writing instrument. We expect a lot from that name. And the question is, does it live up to expectations? Well, stay tuned. Fountain Pen Therapy presents the Omas Ogiva limited edition Espresso Martini from the Cocktail series. Stay tuned. So welcome. The Cocktail series. From what I notice on their website, they are, in fact, let me just go to my website right away. You can see that there are two pens. There's the Cocktail series Peach Bellini. That's this one here. So it's kind of a peachy color. And then, of course, there's this Cocktail series Espresso Martini that I propose for you in this review. So without any further ado, let me go to my overhead camera and we shall see what we got. Here's the box that it comes in. Very nice box. I mean, typically Italian. Omas, handcrafted in Italy since 1925. Just an outer cardboard sleeve. Comes in a hard cardboard box that opens up with a little slot here. Seen this before from Omas. So we can put the box on the side. Here we go. And very nice, quasi leather box here. Hard case. And when we open it up, there is the pen. Now, what's interesting is that here you have a warranty card, and you have a product information card as well. So that's a nice touch. I like this box. And the pen is sitting in this very soft, very well protected bed, if you will. Here's the pen. Now this pen, the first thing you notice immediately is how beautiful that resin is. It's a kind of a resin that's supposed to obviously evoke Espresso Martini, which is from the Cocktail series. So it goes without saying. You can tell there's the brown, and then you got that shimmer or that chatoyancy that kind of reflects the ice in a martini glass, and the creamy color, the more coffee brown color with that beautiful gold trim. I think very, very nice. If we start from the clip, it's got that, that clip with the wheel, so very functional. Stiff, but functional. The center band has got Omas written on it with that very, that standard, if you will, Greek key band that we're familiar with Omas. It's had that since, from many, many years in the past. Again, take a look at that resin. Really, really nice. So you got gold, light blue, creamy. You even have that kind of silverish blue. Very, very nice. It's a cigar shaped, and it's the Ogiva model, if you will. And we'll do some comparisons. I've got another Ogiva model, but it's well known. And you've got just a band here on the finial. It is a piston filler. Yeah, let's just see how many turns. So that's one. That's 1.5. A little over 1 3/4, I think, will do the trick to reveal that beautiful 14 karat nib that we're all, used to. If you know what Omas nibs look like, well, that's it. What's special about what I like about this nib, and I think you can see it, is the dual tone on that nib. It's not all gold nor all silver. You got both tones, and on the nib we see inscribed, sorry about the lighting, 14 karat, and this is a medium nib. It's got that flattish ebonite feed that we've seen in vintage pens as well. It's got, again, that Greek key at the tip of that flare or of that section. The threads here are beautifully done. I mean, very smooth. You cannot feel them at all. There is a slight transition right there, but it's well done. It's not sharp, and you can hardly feel it. The pen is comfortable, more than comfortable. It's a nice size without posting. Can it be posted? I think it can. I'm not sure if I don't think it interferes with the, it just goes over, as you can see, it just goes over that piston. So I don't think it turns the piston. It does make it a very long pen, but it's not metal or anything, so it doesn't backweight it too much. I prefer it, frankly, without posting, but if you really have to post a pen, it is beautifully posted, though. When it's posted, you get one hell of just a beautiful writing instrument. There you have it. Very comfortable pen. But, it does make it a little long, I think. So it's up to you. But, like I said, I don't post my pens. So for me, it's not a major issue. Now, in terms of what do we see in the cap, let me just get my flashlight here. Yeah, there's kind of an interior section with a step there that will seal you can see it there, that will seal the nib. And frankly, I have another Ogiva. Actually, I have 2 or 3. Never had a problem with dry nib on these pens. They're very, very well done. Very well done. So there you have it. I think that's the outside of the pen. Now, like I said, it is a piston filler. I've not filled it up yet, so I can just turn the mechanism. Turns very nicely. It does not have a ink window, but there's some translucency there. I'm not sure the camera picks it up. Maybe you can. 1 second. You could see the knob going up and down. So from that, I would venture to say that you could probably see your ink level, because there is some translucency, especially at that section there in that resin. So, but very smooth. And if my demonstrator tells us anything about the piston, let me take the we're going to do a detailed comparison later. This is the same Ogiva, but in the demo, and as you could see, it's got a fully brass piston. So again, plus value in my view. And you can also see the section, the way it's done. The nibs in here are always, I mean, I haven't written with this pen in months, and I just picked it up a little bit earlier before I began this video, and it wrote just magnificently though. So, no dry nib issues with these pens. These are luxury pens in my view at the price. They're going for $495, and I believe that that's US. So that's a very, very nice pen. So there you have it. What I propose is that we do some pen comparisons and size comparisons. Then I'll give you some measurements, and then we'll do that writing sample. Really looking forward to it. Okay, so we're back with pen and size comparison. I've chosen all Omas pens here. Some are vintage and some are modern. First of all, this is the D-Day Omas Extra vintage. This is the Omas Bologna, and that I think is probably the original Bologna. Kind of a vintagey pen in the sense that it's no longer being manufactured. Then you have the pen I just showed you earlier, which is the Omas Ogiva, but the demonstrator model. This is a Omas Extra with that, and I believe this is no, this is vintage. Then there's this Omas Bologna, but it's got a special nib, and we'll see that in a second. And here we got the Omas Ogiva Espresso Martini, the subject pen. So you can see that the two Ogivas are the bigger of the lot. So those are the pens capped. Okay, so here are the pens uncapped and unposted. Here's the D-Day pen, that vintage Bologna, the Ogiva Demo, the Omas Extra, vintage again. This is that Bologna, but with a Regalia flex nib and the subject pen. And you could see that compared to the more modern pens, the Ogiva model is a nice size, very nice size. Difference being, what I like about this nib is the fact that it's dual-toned. So you get both the gold and the silver, as opposed to this one and this one, which is completely gold, and this one is silver, and the Regalia is, of course, a Regalia nib. So there you have it. That's the pen. Those are the pens uncapped. Here are the pen posted, and I've been looking at the posting of this pen. As you can see, it's a little bit deeper than the demo. The demo sits right on that piston knob, unlike this one. But I still would be very weary because you don't want to activate that piston knob. This one posts very nicely. So does this Extra, and so does this Omas Bologna. But the D-Day, it's just sitting up there. So that one's not a really good poster, but you can see that both Ogivas, when you post them, become a little, my view, a little bit too long. But if you need to, you can do so. So there are the pens posted. We'll take some measurement, we'll do some measurements, and then we'll get to our writing sample. Be right back. Okay, so we're back. The paper I'm using is Tomo River, original Tomo River paper. The ink, I've decided to go with the coffee theme. So this is Cappuccino from KWZ. Let me show you a swatch of that ink. Where is it? Here we go. I believe it's in the next page. Yeah, next page. Here we go. KWZ ink. Some nice shading. Good dark brown coffee color. So that's the ink that I've chosen. And we're all set. Okay, so this is the Omas, Ogiva, and it's the Espresso Martini. Limited edition. The nib on this pen, and I can tell you right now that this nib is just glorious, is an Omas 14 karat dual toned with an ebonite feed. And that's important. And it's that classic flat shaped ebonite feed that Omas is so famous for. The ink is KWZ Cappuccino. By the way, that ink, when you open the bottle, it smells like kind of vanilla coffee. All of the KWZ inks smell really nice when you open that bottle. Very, very nice. So that's that. Now, I can tell you that this nib has got a little bounce to it. It's very, very wet. Oh, by the way, it is a medium. Forgot to mention. Very, very wet. It's got some, so you can kind of push it. Like all Omas nibs and gold nibs, very, very soft and bouncy. Very consistent no matter which way you choose to. As you can see, it's very, very constant. Just straighten that out. Or consistent. No skips here, folks. And I like this ink because it gives you kind of that shading from light to dark brown, which, exemplifies or really evokes the color of that resin. In terms of fast writing, yeah, it just glides. Just glides on that paper. Really, really nice. Reverse writing. I'm not a fan of reverse writing, but for those of you who insist, you can get a very, very, almost like an extra fine line in reverse writing. So I think this pen, very comfortable, by the way. It's got a nice, comfortable, balanced writing experience, but that nib, very, very performing. Now, likes and dislikes. Well, if by now you haven't figured out that I like this pen, the model, the Ogiva model, I have always liked. The nib is the heart of this pen. It's the highlight. And folks, it's a 10 on 10 for that nib. It's perfectly tuned, smooth, wet, bouncy. It's a piston filler, although some people might find that as a disadvantage. Generally speaking, when we're talking about a piston filler, you can take in a little more ink, and it's got that brass piston filler. I mean, it's got to be a plus. But some people prefer cartridges and converters. Personally, I don't like cartridges. I can live with a converter, but if I got a piston filler, even all the better. Okay, the dislikes, the only dislike is no ink window. But, as I mentioned, even then, I think the translucency in the barrel will give you an indication. You can see now it's all dark here. all dark as compared to the top part, but it's not an ink window. Okay, piston filler nib. What else have I? Yeah, the build quality is just excellent. The way everything is sanded down, and there's right here, even on the step down, it's rounded so you don't feel it. The trimmings are nice. Oh, the trimmings are the classic Omas trimmings I like as well. Some people might complain about the trimming at the end of the section, because when you dip the pen, then you've got to be very careful to make sure you clean up that tipping. But it means a few seconds more, and when you write, your eyes feast on that trimming. So I think it's worth a couple of seconds more. Now, it is not a cheap pen. It's as I mentioned, about $495. I believe that's US on their site. So it is not a cheap pen, but it's, you look at Leonardo's are going for $600-700, Auroras, Scribos. So, at $495 for a 14 karat Omas nib, I think it's worth every penny. Is it a go-to pen? And by go-to, I mean, is this the type of pen that I would use on a daily basis? In my case, in an office setting, absolutely 10 on 10 for a go-to. I have no qualms about using this pen as a go-to pen. So there you have it, folks. That is my review. Let me just... Wow. Thank you, Omas. You have added another beautiful pen to my collection. Now I have two Ogivas to enjoy. This is a fine and this is a medium. And the other modern one is the Bologna Calligraphia with that flex nib. And then I've got my vintage nibs that I'm always looking to add. So Omas, as they say, you celebrate the history and you celebrate the future. Very nice pen. Very, very nice pen. There you have it, folks. I hope you enjoyed that. $495, not a cheap pen. Not a cheap pen. But I can tell you, when you compare it to other Italian pens with a 14 karat nib, it's amongst the least expensive. And, the resin is quality. The build quality is there. So I can't help but thumbs up. Thank you very much for joining me. Please subscribe. Subscribe. It's free, helps the algorithm. And, we've got Italian pens here that are quality. So got my Italian flag in the back there. So, you know where the heart is, right? And take care, folks. Ciao. Grazie mille a tutti. Fate i bravi. Ciao.